in every instance. But the reality is otherwise. You know why? Given the gap that is widening right now, despite what we are doing, or despite the work that is being done by some of these NGOs and some of these activists around the world, but the gap is widening. But we have achieved a lot of things, as I said yesterday. We have achieved a lot of things, but there is a lot of things that remain to be done in the future. And I think we will not fill that gap to reach the point where men are definitely, or we are in a perfect equality between men and women, and that is a very, 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 very big problem. Yeah. And I think we should look at
okay, we don't hear you, Babuti.
His connection has problems.
Yeah.
His voice was big.
Oh, go ahead, Babuti. Now we hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm listening to my own voice. Yeah. Rick.
Yeah, is that better now?
I'm listening to my own voice.
Oh, so that means somebody has their mic open, I think. If everybody can make sure their microphone is closed,
No,
and he's probably getting feedback.
Maybe he has the website open and we are streaming.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, if you have the website open or something like that, try to close it maybe. And is that better, Babuti? No? Yes? Maybe?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. I was listening to my own voices. I don't know why. And I closed that website. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I was saying that I think that men and women will not be equal, and it is something that I regret very, very, because the gap, as I said, is widening right now between the genders, and despite the fact what we have achieved in that way, but there is a lot of things that remain to be done in order to get to that point where men and women are equal. And another point is intrinsic to our society. You know, our society is all divided into too many parts. There are some liberal views and there are some conservative views. And while the liberal views are promoting women and reporting the equality, it's remained within the society, particularly in the conservative views, that women should be kept to a particular role. And despite not saying women should not be equal to men, but they are confining in a particular role, and that is a big obstacle before women, before achieve or toward the achievement of our goal, which is equality between the two gender. But in the past, where women were struggling for a basic right, right now they are standing up against kind of discrimination or mistreatment, and the struggle remains the same, but it changed. It changed from one point to another point. In the past, women were struggling for their basic right, the right to vote, the right to be elected, the right to be in the same place or to be treated the same way as men. But nowadays it is about how they are, even when they reach those points. I mean, they get the right to vote, they get the right to be elected. the way we are treated them, or the way they are treated when they reach those points is very difficult. It makes the thing that can't last for a long time, because yeah, these women have struggled in order to reach this point, but when she reached that point, yeah, she can't stay there because the environment is very hostile to her, and that's what makes me think that unfortunately we are not so close to equality, or to perfect equality between men and women in a foreseeable future.
Okay, so thank you, Babuti. I actually have a question for both you and Mary, if you don't mind, because both of you made a similar argument that it should be okay, but it's not realistic. It's not realistic to think that it's going to happen. So my question for both of you, and Mary, if you want to answer first, is what is the single biggest obstacle to it becoming reality? In other words, is it just because, we will always have our own views, or we will always have, because we have a diversity of cultures, a diversity of and some people don't agree with it, right? Some people, again, look at this in terms of duties, right, or traditional, view. So what is the single, to you, Mary, first, what is the single biggest factor in terms of not achieving gender equality?
It's difficult to answer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good question, but difficult to answer. As I said, I even didn't want to accept, but how to say that? I don't know how to answer the question. I wish one day there's no gap between, because we are human beings. We are not different species. I don't know. I can't find something to say about it.
Well, let me.
I dream of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask the question a different way. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So yesterday I brought up, and again, yesterday I brought up, and it's not all inclusive, meaning that I'm sure there are other factors, but I brought up like maybe 5 or 6 different areas that we could look at, right? We could look at education, we could look at economic opportunity, we could look at the political system, the legal system, we could look at the cultural aspect, right? And somewhat related to that, in some cases, might be the religious aspect. So, of those 5 or 6 areas, if in other words, which one of those is the hardest area to achieve equality in?
I don't know. Probably education and plays the major role to hinder the process, right? And of course, culture is the other important one.
Okay, so you think that because of the lack of equal opportunity for education to people around the world.
That's not a problem in China. In China, men and women do have equal opportunity to get education now.
So what do you think? So cultural then?
But education still plays a major role, since when education doesn't always mean proper education. Education can also mean when you brought up in your family, and of course in this way, culture plays the most important role, right, in your family, in the society. How can people see? Right. How can but it's still education, right?
Well, yeah, I think you can use the education in different
Yeah.
formats or different. Okay, okay, all right. Okay, well that's a good point. Babuti, how
Thank you.
about you?
Yeah, I think for me, the point that I think it is the big obstacle toward that equality is not among those 5 points that you have enumerated yesterday. And I think it is about not all people are on the same page. I think we are not in the denying right or something. You just heard what Mary said. Yeah, it is a. She think that men and women are equal, and I think it is this awareness that is awareness of this inequality that make a big problem, and that I think what we need in this situation is to be aware that there is still a gap between men and women, and we should fill it. And I think that is the biggest problem right now. Some people think that okay, it's enough. They have reached the point where they are equal to men, but the gap is still, but it isn't the case. And I think that is the lack of awareness of this inequality that is the biggest threat toward achieving this goal.
Well, you bring up, and we'll have, of course, we're going to have everybody else give their feedback as well after you. But so I'm just because I'm writing down some notes to make it a little bit easier to put this together in terms of some kind of write up. So not all people on the same page. So that doesn't mean. So basically, what you're saying is maybe people have different ways of measuring when or I was going to say initially I was going to say maybe defining what it is, right? Because again, this goes back to yesterday when we had our discussion. You know, people have a different way of defining what that means, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's one area, but you're also saying that you know some people maybe because we don't have one standard that everybody globally accepts as okay. When you meet this measure, you have succeeded in achieving gender equality, right? Because we all have our own views about it. First of all, what we have our views about what it means, and then secondly, we don't necessarily have an agreement on have we gone far enough, right?
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Oh my gosh, we're gonna save the world, guys. Okay. All right. So thank you, Babuti. Thank you, Mary. So Rashid, Mr. Rashid, tell us what you think. Do you think that men and women will ever be equal, and why?
Okay. Yes, men and women. Yes. I think men and women cannot be equal, but actually, the nature made us. Um, nature made us, created us as what to say, unequal. But I suppose women should get equal rights. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that as they're not equal, they will not get equal rights. They also have rights of equality, of being equal. I mean, equal opportunities, to get equal opportunities and facilities. Um, but we have to accept that some jobs cannot be done by male people, you know, and which are very much possible for women. Anyway, suppose if we men and women I mean men and women all people go to offices, do jobs, the children will not be properly cared. The children will not be properly will not get proper education, because what I think that if I do job, I go to job, my wife will be able to take care of my kids so that they can grow up properly. They can learn. She can make sure that they study properly or not, and many things, and they are, and I think women are very much good at giving. I mean, good at counseling service. Suppose if if any men are very much emotional, stressed with their works, with workloads, and when he comes back to house, then if the man has good wife, she can encourage him that don't be afraid, all things will be all right, and all things will be okay, so keep up your morale. There are many things, and it happens in many countries. Sometimes women stand by the people, the males, to give their moral support, the loving support. So I suppose, yes, although we are not, the women will are deserved to get equal opportunities, but I think that we should have some compromising that if we both go to office to do job, then who will look after our kids? Because Napoleon Bonaparte, I think you all heard about him. He said that give me an ideal mother, I will offer you an ideal nation. So how much care, how much lesson a mother can give to her children, it's not possible for men to give that sort of lessons. As you, Richard, once upon a time told in this group that when in my boyhood, I got my mother's support, and she supported our family, she supported us, and that is why I could grow with sympathetic mind. And she told me how to treat people with respect, with dignity, and that sort of mentality was entranced in your mindset. Yes, of course, I think the women should get more respect than men, but they're not equal, but they're entitled to get equal rights. But we should have a compromising stand about our families, about other things in our society. It's my viewpoint. Thank you.
Okay, let me paraphrase what I think you said there. I just want to be clear, since we're streaming this. Okay, so basically, your position is not necessarily that because you said that they are not equal, right? But they should have equality of rights, right?
Yes.
So when we talked a little bit about this yesterday, right? I think Imad brought this up. So the point is, when we think about the physiological differences, etc., the biological differences, etc., that we talked about yesterday. So obviously, men and women are different. Okay, they're not the same, right? Physiologically or biologically, right? But your point is that in terms of having equal rights, that definitely they should have equality of rights. Okay, right? Did I say that right?
Yes, yes. But
Good. Can I
it
ask
must be
him a
logical.
question?
It must be logical, you know.
Yeah. Go ahead. Ask him a question, Mary. Go ahead.
Rashid, just now you said, if all work, who will take care? Why men can? If your wife can get a better job, why can't you take care of your children? You're a parent, right? You have the same right. You have the
Actually,
same.
what I mean, even I think scientists also prove that women are very much skilled in giving good parenting to their, I mean, better parenting to their kids. Yeah, men also can offer better, good parenting, but um, um, the children easily can share their thoughts, their problems with their mother. How much easiness they will, comfort they will feel sharing their problems with their mother. That much comfort that will not fail to share with their fathers. And men, women are very much um, they are very much loving, they are caring, and they are um, they can easily, I mean, they can very much good at giving counseling to the people, to their kids, and in how they can make the kids understand or understand others. They're very much generous, more generous, more sympathetic than men. Their mind is softer than men, and it is necessary for kids. I mean, for not nurturing or raising the kids. So, and women are more patient than men, and that is why women's parenting is much more needed for kids, and that's why it's my opinion. That's why I said that. Yeah.
So Rashid,
Yes.
do you agree? In this way, men are not as good as women, right? So why did you say natural made the equality?
Yeah. Women can give better service at home, and men can give better service outside the home.
Really? You really think you can work much better than other women in the world? I don't think so.
If I don't get homely support from my wife, it will not be possible for me to do my job at my office,
But my question is that, Rashid,
to do my
why your wife has to sacrifice her life just only for you? Why can't she has her dream to be achieved?
Yes, actually, if it is not necessary for wives to do job, I suppose it will not be a wise decision to do that, because in our country, suppose in Bangladesh, many men are unemployed. They don't get job, and that's why they don't get married. They cannot get married because no one doesn't like to marry their daughters off to an unemployed guy, and that is why many men cannot, can get job, and they cannot marry, and that sort of situation is very much common in our country. But many women who don't have any responsibilities, even to their families. Maybe their family or have more than one are breadwinners, but they're earning money and that's doing but they, and even in our country, an unemployed women can marry, but an unemployed man cannot marry, cannot find out bride, and many issues are involved with it. So it will take time to explain those things.
Okay.
And
Well, why don't we?
yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank
Rashid, yeah. So let's go ahead and move on because we have some other people that we want to also hear from. But it is. No. It was an interesting question. It's an interesting and it's an interesting response. Okay, so this is where again we have different ideas about this topic. So, okay, thank you, both of you. Thank you for saying that, Rashid, and thank you for asking the question, Mary.
But as I told them, we should be compromising with each other. So any decision we will take, we should take, through consulting with
We
each
need
other.
to move on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for sharing that, though.
No,
Okay,
I just drew conclusion of my speech. That's okay. Thank you.
No, that was good. Again, you did a good job. Hiroki, can you please tell us, first of all, do you agree or disagree with that statement? Men and women will never be equal, and tell us why. And tell us why you believe, what you believe to be. If the answer is yes, you agree they will never be equal, tell us what you think the obstacle is to achieving that equality. Go ahead, Hiroki.
Yeah, I disagree with topic. Men and women are humans. All humans can be equal. Also, in the past, people obsessed to be a man. So, women, actually, our body difference maybe, but it doesn't mean men are strong because women can birth, and also women's body is more flexible than men. So, in the plane crash, women have more possibility to be strong, to survive. So more flexibility. Flexibility is one type of strength actually. Survive. So true equality means we can achieve our goal, our talent, ability, in the society, in the family. So admitting each other's difference, each individual difference, not only gender difference, individual differences. In such way, our society is more dynamic, balanced society. If we deny this equality, our society is pretty much limited, not dynamic, balanced, unbalanced society. It became a non-dynamic, unbalanced society because, the society consists of a lot of different types of people. That's a society. If we choose one specific people, for example, men only, maybe no kids anymore. So how can we keep the society? Also, and also now in politically, legally, men and women are totally equal here. So Tokyo governor now is a woman, and Osaka governor used to be a woman. But however, people didn't choose them, because of the woman. Actually, their policy appealed to the citizen. Maybe such kind of society is more dynamic than just say, oh, men should do that, should not do that, women should do that, should not do that. If we can appeal, or if we can achieve our individual difference, or individual possibility without any hindrance based on gender or discrimination, that's equal dynamic society. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, very, very interesting. Okay. Well, I like that something you said there at the very end, because, for example, you said political leaders are chosen basically for the policies, not gender. Then you also gave your version of what you think equality means, which that we can live up to our full potential in anything we choose, right?
Right.
And if people, regardless of gender, can do that, then they have achieved some level of equality, right?
Right.
And you also said, I thought was interesting too, it's not a gender-based thing, it's an individual-based thing. I thought that was pretty interesting. Okay, all right, very, very interesting. You guys are all bringing up some really good points. One day, Oprah Winfrey's going to hear this, okay?
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. So after Hiroki, we have Saif. So Saif, Mr. Saif, do you want to share with us your ideas? Saif, are you here? Hello, Mr. Saif. Okay, maybe you're going to type something because you're going to say it's noisy or something. I don't know. Oh, you'll be the last one. Okay. All right. So we still have our leadership team, Johnny and Jamil. I don't know if you guys want to wait and let everybody else go, or you want to go. Feel free to let me know what you want to do. In the meantime, we'll go to, I think, Mubarak, I think you are new here, right? Or maybe you're in the same location that Saif is and cannot speak. Okay, so I will go to Jamie. Jamie.
Okay. Yeah.
Share with us your wisdom. So first of all, do you agree with that topic that they will never?
Yeah, I think the genders are equal. I think rather, because the only difference between men and women is that we have and we have different parts and we can do different things biologically. It doesn't really matter, what gender we are. We all have the same talents. We all have the same ideals. It really doesn't matter. It used to be like in the old days that women stayed home and men did all the work. Now it seems that it's sometimes some places it's the reverse. I mean, there are women policemen, women governors, women whatever. The women have become stronger over time. And why can't be equal? Why can't women bring home the bacon, as they say? Why can't women do the same things as us men? I mean, I really think it really astounds me that it took over 200 years from 1776 until 1920 for women to get the right to vote. It says in our Declaration of Independence, we hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That amongst these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I'm sure Thomas Jefferson didn't mean us men. I'm sure he meant mankind. So I really think women should have been able to do the same thing as men. Should have been able to go from the get-go. It's only I really don't understand why they have always thought of you guys as inferior. Probably because I don't know, because we're supposed to be stronger. There are a lot of strong women too, like Susan B. Anthony, Hillary Clinton, and Mother Teresa. So yeah, sexes are equal. The only difference is that we have different parts, as I said before, and we all have minds. We're all strong mentally and some physically. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so my question to you, you said that men and women are equal.
Yes.
Okay, you said they are equal, but you would acknowledge that equality is still an issue, right? Because there is not currently.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay,
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't.
Okay, but why do you think? What is the single biggest obstacle to inequality?
Ignorance. I mean.
Okay. Ignorance. Okay. So
Yeah, they think of women as they think of women as like second class, like they're not women are as strong as us men. That's my point. Yeah. Women don't have the same capacity, but they do.
Okay. Okay. So you feel that ignorance is the obstacle.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for
Okay.
talk.
All right. So Johnny, what do you think, Johnny?
Hello. Um, um, if by equal we mean having equal rights and equal responsibility, then I would agree with the top. By being equal we mean physically equal, then I I also agree with the top. Um, uh, I will not say either way. I will not say that that we will never be equal. I mean, I wouldn't be so much. Um, how can I put it this in simple words? I wouldn't claim certainty in that way because nobody knows the future. Maybe some of this issue will be resolved in the future, perhaps. Who knows? I mean, but saying that we'll never, it I would I would understand that someone has traveled into the future, and until the end of humanity and have seen all this and come up with such a claim. Uh, so saying that we'll never is a little bit strong statement to make. Um, well, we all know that men and women are not physically equal. So on that point, we would agree that I don't know how evolution would what kind of turns evolution would take in the future, but I don't think that we will become just same or have the same physiological attribute. So I'm pretty much confident in saying that we will never be physically equal. Uh, but talking about rights and responsibilities, um, it could happen. It could happen. Right now, it seems to be pretty much difficult, pretty much um, unlikely in today's world. But again, maybe in the future things will change. We don't know that. Um, as for the biggest challenge uh, to reach gender equality in today's world, for me, would be the way people think, the kind of beliefs they have. If we all in the planet thought the same way and have the same kind of mindset and the same kind of values, then that could be possible. But we don't. We don't have the same values. We don't have the same beliefs. We not all agree on some definitions on how things should be or how things should go. And I think we will always have these differences. And some of these differences are a big obstacle to achieve gender equality. Let me give you an example, simple example. Um, I don't have it right now, the data with me, but I have seen some statistics that observe that, for instance, the more religious the country is, the less likely to have gender equality. The more secular a country is, those standards will rise a little bit. And that is because like I said before, we all have different kind of definitions, have different kind of mindsets and kind of belief systems that oppose a big threat to gender equality. I don't want to go too long. That's it.
Okay. Alrighty. So I think that, and you bring up a really good point that I think is important that we heard other people talk about in passing, was that often we conflate those two things. Okay, I don't know if everybody knows what the word conflate means. It means to join together something, right? So we often conflate our physiological differences, okay, our biological differences with equality of rights, right? Because we all know in general, that there are certain characteristics, right, based upon a man and being physiologically a man, or and difference with being a woman. Okay, so that's separate. When we talk about equality of rights, that's the right to make your own choices, go to work, who stays home to watch the kids if you have kids, etc., right? Voting, legal system, all these things. Okay, so that's important to note that, and I think everybody would agree. Hopefully, everybody would agree that in general, not specifically, because there are in some cases men that are physically weaker than women. Okay, and something, Hiroki, you brought up a good point. I thought that was very interesting. Strength. You can measure strength in a lot of different ways. You can measure strength by how much weight a person can lift in a gym. You can also measure strength in terms of your endurance, right? Your stamina. Okay. So there's different ways to measure strength as well. So we have to be careful about when we say that men are stronger, because and there's different, there's physical aspect of strength, there's the emotional aspect of strength. So it gets really
mental. Don't forget mental strength.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to measure those things. The point is, most people will recognize in general, that there are differences between the male gender and female gender. But your point that you brought up, Johnny, which is a good point, is again, it's the equality of rights, the right to choose, to make decisions, and to to do what Hiroki said, which is to basically live up to your individual potential. Right? Okay, very interesting. So we have we have a couple more. So Mubarak, I don't know if you wanted to speak. If you do, let us know. We have Mihalur.
Here's a summary from Wikipedia.
So let us know if you would like to speak about the topic. Okay.
Hello, everybody. I can try, but I've never been doing that before. I don't know if I can say. So the topic is gender equality.
Yeah. Basically, The topic is men and women will never be equal. So do you agree with that? Jamie. Okay. So do you agree with that topic, or don't you agree, and why?
So. Men and women will never be equal. It's a very delicate issue. For instance, I'm a woman and I would never want to have full equality with the man, because I don't know. Okay, I'm not referring to discrimination. That's something I'm against. I'm from Romania, and although there was discrimination against women in the past, nowadays things are looking brighter. I don't feel discriminated because I'm an educated person, and if that happens, I would know how to react. But for instance, equality, I'm married and I would like my husband to help me if I have to carry heavy bags from the market like that. That's why I don't really want to be equal in all matters. I would like to be treated as a lady. I don't know if that refers to equality or it's only being, I don't really know. So, yeah, I'm against discrimination and I want equality, but in terms of I don't know, I have to admit the fact that men are physically stronger, and that's why I would like my husband to help me, not treat me, okay, we are equal, you do that one, you lift heavy weights like that because you want to be equal, and this means to be equal. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like, I mean, your position is similar to what we heard, is that again there are differences in gender, right? In general, there are differences between a woman and a man, and but when it comes to rights, when it comes to your ability to go get a job, earn an income, join. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, sorry. For me, that's like I don't see why I have to fight for that. I really take that for granted because we are all humans, and there should be no imbalance between our roles in society. And maybe because I've never experienced this kind of discrimination, I'm not even aware, and I don't want to accept the fact that it still exists. And no, I totally disagree with that. With an imbalance between our social roles and social status based on our gender.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you a question based upon when I was in Bucharest. Because I know it's obviously a major city. Mm-hmm. So but I also went to a lot of villages when I was in Romania. Okay, in the
city I live in Romania. It's a small town. Yeah, it's less developed than Bucharest, and the mentality is not as developed as like from the mentality of people from larger cities. And if you go to villages, you will still find situations. For instance, I was when I was a child, I used to spend all my summer holidays in the countryside, and I used to see the way my grandpa he was asking her to do, and I think that that situation still exists in the villages, but this is because of lack of information, and women are not educated enough as to know they have the right to fight for their freedom. And if this was going to be your question, we still have this problem.
Yes. That was going to be my question. And that's interesting. That's interesting because even in I mean, Romania is an Eastern Europe country, but still part of Europe, right? Mm-hmm, and so when we find these situations, sometimes we might think about, and again, I'm not getting on anybody, but we might think about countries like India or other countries where traditionally maybe there has been a different perspective. But again, it's not limited only to Southwest Asia, right? We see this, and you brought up a good point that maybe in the more rural areas where maybe people are not as educated or don't have the same access to information, right?
Or maybe the same financial possibilities as other people, because I think that's one of the main reasons why a woman can still accept to be discriminated or treated unfairly, because she cannot live her life. She is not financially independent, and that's why she accepts the situation that is not very suitable for her. And I'm referring to rural areas as well of Romania.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's very interesting because we talked about that yesterday as well. The economic independence is a large factor, right? When somebody is able to, do what they want to do because they have the economic means to do it, that makes a big difference, right?
True.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Oh, very, very, very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you as well.
And again, anybody that wants to ask any questions to anyone speaking, please feel free to ask. I don't want to be the only one asking questions, so please feel free to ask a question if you guys would like.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
I do not have questions, but I think she is a really happy lady, and she is a really good wife. And most men like to have wife like her, I guess. What do you think, guys, man?
Actually, Mary, to answer what kind of wife I'd like to have, I'd like to have a wife that that loves me for me, and I would I want an equal partner, and I would let her do most of the stuff. It's not I mean, we're supposedly the dominant sex, but I think women should, like I said, women should have equal rights. I would help her, and do whatever she wanted, and try to have a balance.
Jamie is a good husband, I guess.
Well, I would be. I hope I'd be. Are you single, Mary? Are you single?
Yes. Okay, you can be.
Okay. All right. So well, no, that's and Mary, I think that's an interesting perspective that you brought up. That you can tell a lot by somebody's attitude and the way they speak about how they feel their position. When I say the position, I'm not talking about in a work environment, but their position in general is in life, domestically, right, or in other areas. So yeah, that speaks very highly of you. Yeah, that's very very nice statement, Mary, to her. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
Yeah, I've always thank you for the comment, Mary. But I've always said, if I ever get married, I want to talk about equality. I'd want us to be equal. I do most of the cleaning. I do most of the stuff. I do some of the things that she can't do, and she do some of the stuff I can't do. And then know her to have kids. But if I ever do have kids, I'd want them to, listen to both of us. Anyway.
Jamie, you will tell us who the lucky one will be after you get married, right?
What?
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's finish up with the rest, and then if we have a little time, we can because we started about 2 hours ago, roughly 2 hours. So we're a little bit late. So Mubarak, I know you wanted to speak up and share with us what you think. So Mubarak, what do you think?
Yes, Rick. Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Rick. It's been a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
But by the way, this is an interesting. Yeah, school stuff have been keeping me busy from joining you guys. But anyways, this is basically an interesting topic for me because I'm even working on my presentations, but I just give that for a second aside and then participate even a little bit about what you've been discussing. This is so. Sometimes people tend to come at this from somewhat different perspective when you talk about gender, men and women being equal. But for me personally, from my perspective, I can say when you talk about this, as just the lady she just finished saying about this physical differences, men and women are not the same. Of course, I agree with her. And then when you talk about this equal economic opportunities, and then social justice, and then stuff like that, I disagree with people saying men and women are not the same. I think men and women should have the same economic opportunities because women, they're responsible. They are the one who raise kids and then do stuff at home and then all the other things like that. But also men, of course, tend to have much more responsibilities. But if women are allowed to have the same or equal economic opportunities, of course there are in different ways they can contribute and help to build a better society. So I think in terms of these economic opportunities and then social justice, for example, women driving, I was at the conference, I think, last week, and then it was really about the rights of women to, in the society, about driving, about these issues, social issues, and then people disagree with the idea of women not driving. It's really a bad idea, and then unfortunately, the guys win. So this is basically what I mean, if you can understand me. So really, I believe men and women should be equal in terms of economic opportunities and then social justice. But I don't know, of course, about the physical differences, of course, it's obvious. We have about the shave, everything else. But really, that's what I think.
I will say, it's been a long time since we talked, but your English is like pretty awesome now. Okay.
Really?
Compared to the first time, it's been a long time ago that we've heard from you. But
yeah, I know, Rick.
but no, very, very, very good, very good. And it was really.
I would have to agree. It's pretty good, very good actually.
So I it's interesting that again, what we see is kind of a trend, right? Where we see, I think almost everybody, for the most part, have said, yeah, men and women are physiologically different.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe because of that, and maybe some other differences, there are more. How do I say it? More roles suited. I don't really like to put it that way, but I don't know any other way of putting it. Than say men are. But that the point is that economic opportunities and social justice, these things, everybody should have the same opportunity in those areas, right?
Exactly.
So okay, very very interesting. All right, so let's go ahead, and we haven't heard from. I know Saif wanted to go. He said he wanted to be last. Okay, but Jamila hasn't spoken either. Jamila,
Really?
Jamila, are you still here, or did you give up on us?
I almost did.
You almost did. Well,
Yeah.
Tell us what you think, and then we'll
Yeah.
go to Saif.
I don't know. I think I would not agree with the topic because obviously I don't believe that men and women will never be equal. But I do believe, but I also think this will be very challenging. It will be. Obviously, unfortunately, I think we've gone a long way since, I guess, this whole thing started. So, for example, now when we see, for example, that women outnumber men in universities in most cases, so they are pretty much encouraged to get an education, which is the basis. And they work. They are pretty active. They contribute to their society. They can speak out. They can express themselves. They have the freedom of speech in most cases again. But still, I think there are other countries where there has to be huge work, not only from women, but also from men. Because like we said yesterday, gender issues are not necessarily and should not necessarily be focused on women, but actually on the relationship men and women have. So if we notice today, which is interesting and actually surprising, is that countries that speak much and more about gender equality and gender inequality issues are developed countries. And to me, this is very surprising because you would think that let's just take the example of the United States and European countries, you would think that for countries like those where they encourage all the segments and all the members of society to contribute, and where it's a democracy, everyone has a voice, everyone is encouraged to express the voice. They are still having these kind of issues. And to me, like I said yesterday, I'm pretty harsh when it comes to some women, because when it comes to movements and campaigns like those, we always expect the stronger person to uplift and to help the weakest, right? So when I think about women that, actually are educated, that live in a society and in an environment where they can do something and act on things and kind of shift mindsets, to me, I expect them to do a lot of work because this is a responsibility. You cannot just be successful and just stay in your corner and enjoy your success alone. To me, there is a collective and a public responsibility on all those men and women that are successful, that do have, not do have voices, because I believe everyone has a voice, but do have the opportunity to express it and do something with that. So, for example, and I think I mentioned that yesterday, and I will mention it again today because I have very, very strong feelings about this. When it comes to the Me Too movement, and also there is a French equivalent of this, and the translation is like name your pig. To me, this is a pretty aggressive thing, because you cannot do that. You can actually, while you can speak out about this kind of issues, you cannot lend the responsibility to the public to act as a court and judge people. You cannot do that to me. And if you have anything to say, for example, of course, you can encourage people. You can create, like we said yesterday, create the right environment where people can feel like they can, for example, talk about people that were unfair to them, harass them. To me, this is a good thing. But going a step further, just denouncing and saying, okay, this guy, he was very, his guy is a pig. To me, this is pretty extreme. And I think when some women do that, they are doing disservice to what should be a very humble and a very important campaign and movement. So I think women they should start to focus more on what's worth fighting for, instead of maybe creating useless battles. Like I said yesterday, when I look at women, like I was watching actually videos on YouTube, and I saw a video about, it was, I think, Jennifer Lopez, which is a very famous actress. And I think it was in a ceremony of the Golden Globes, and an actor was looking at her breast, because obviously she was showing off. We could see them. And he was saying, oh, you've got pretty beautiful ones. And she was laughing. And afterwards, she was interviewed in a radio station, and someone said, why did you laugh? And she said, okay, that's okay. The guy made a moment out of it. And there's also another actress, which is pretty famous, Scarlett Johansson, and a guy also touched her breast just to see if she was wearing something under her dress, and she was laughing. So to me, you cannot have double standards. You have to have values, you have to have standards, and you have to fight for them. It shouldn't be out of convenience. You shouldn't say, okay, we want gender equality just when we want it. So, for example, when it comes to my career, when it comes to my success, my personal success, I can let a few things go. I can just shut my eyes and just don't say any word about this. But I can go out in public and say, okay, I'm for the Me Too movement. No, I think we should all look at our values, our behaviors, and just be honest with ourselves and say if we are not doing things that encourage the issue that we are talking about, gender inequality. So to me, instead, for example, of this Me Too movement, instead of fighting for maybe wage gap, which could be, a valid issue, they should fight for the girls, for example, in underdeveloped countries that cannot even have access to education, that cannot even express themselves. To me, there are some battles that are not necessarily valid, in my opinion, and we will not, I think, achieve gender equality if we don't look again at our priorities and how we behave and act as women in general. I think for now that's it.
Okay, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Any comments for Jamila?
Yeah.
I heard, Johnny, I heard you clear your throat. Does that mean you're going to say something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel identified with something that she mentioned. maybe I will put it in another way, is that, you know, when when women fight for gender equality, they only do it when it's convenient for them. For instance, if you are in a car on a road and you are with a man and the car gets broken, perhaps a flat tire, the woman would expect that the man would take care of the issue because he's the man, right? So it's not convenient for her to fight in that moment that she should do it, right? So that she should have the same opportunity to do it or to fix it. So it's not convenient for her. So I can relate to that kind of situations because I live it every day. When women wants many things, I mean they fight for the rights of doing or having the same thing that a man has or do or does, but when it's not convenient for her, then suddenly, you know, she becomes a hypocrite, and she suddenly becomes traditional, right? Like, oh, I am the old school. I think that, you know, I bring this example again and again over and again. Sorry if I'm boring about that, but again, when we have this exchange of the date, suddenly the woman becomes like, I'm old school. I want the man to take the initiative. I want the man to pay for the first date, or I want the man to be the support of the house, you know, because I don't like it. It's not convenient for me. If I have to do the same thing that the job, have the same responsibility that a man have, that's not convenient for me. And I also can relate to the example of Halor brought about when she goes shopping, and when she shops for a lot of things, then she expects that a man would help her because a man is stronger, and suddenly she wouldn't have to do that anymore. So she would enjoy some kind of benefits because she's a woman, and she wants to keep that. She wouldn't say, no, don't help me. I want to be independent, just as any man would. Don't help me with all these bags because I can do it. I should be able to do it the same way that a man does when he's alone. And as for the legal system, right? When a woman tries to fight for, you know, equality, they wouldn't do much when it comes to crimes or crime sentences, for instance. There are countries that, you know, when a woman is convicted of a crime, she would have a certain amount of time in prison. But a man, if a man commits the same kind of crime, he gets longer sentence. So she wouldn't fight for gender equality in that case because it's not convenient for her. So I can relate due to what she was saying, that, you know, when women fight for gender equality, it doesn't mean actually gender equality. It just means I want the same rights when it's convenient for me. When it's not, then I don't want it.
I'm sorry, Johnny, but I didn't say that.
Well,
I did not say that, actually.
But
get the gloves off.
Yeah, because what I said, No. What I said it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. That's the difference. It shouldn't be out of convenience. And the specific example I gave is the women that are powerful, that are strong, and that have an education, and that do live in an environment where they can do something. I was not talking about in general about all the women, because to me, obviously, there are different contexts, and women.
But I'm talking about.
And there are different aspects of power too.
In general.
Well, I was not talking in general, so this is where we don't agree. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Johnny is so picky.
No, because, you know, I think, again, this is different. There's a difference between chivalry, and again, this is the dynamic between a man and a woman. And for example, if a guy doesn't like that, he can just go and date a strong woman that actually says, okay, let me open the door for you. So you have a choice again. You can date a woman who's pretty conservative in this area, or you have a choice, just date another woman who's not conservative in this area. I think it's different again, because here you have a choice.
Yeah, well, of course I would have the choice to do
Anyway,
that.
you have something less to say?
Oh boy.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I will share. First of all, we got everybody, right? We lost Saif, so obviously Saif's no longer here. So I will share my views on this topic, and then we will wrap up. So what I wanted to say is, first of all, I disagree with the topic when we talk about equality of rights or equal access of rights. Okay, that's a better way to say it. Okay, because I agree in general with what I think most people recognize, again, that there are two different ways to look at this when we talk about being equal. Okay, obviously we said already that physiologically there are differences. Okay. So when I look at the subject or topic, I'm looking at both of these. So in terms of equality of rights, I think a lot of it stems, first of all, we talked about general society and culture, religion, status of country, developed, undeveloped, or underdeveloped. Okay, but there's another way to look at this as well, and that is from the family perspective, okay? Think about something we talked about, I think it was a few weeks ago. We had a session where we're talking about how we gain our values, right? How we learn, not gain, how we learn our values, right? And to me, that's critical. That's part of it. That's part of it, right? So my point here is that the values we learn growing up are what basically determine how we act towards others, right? So if we grow up in an environment where there is respect for both genders, okay, there is maybe a role model, okay, a female role model that teaches us that they can be empowered to be, economically independent, educated, okay, strong, again, not just in a physical way, but maybe emotionally or mentally, or So I think that's a really important part. Because again, this is not, we can look at this from a societal standpoint or cultural standpoint. That's at the highest levels. But you almost need to also look at it at the individual level, which came up before already, right? And how are we influenced as individuals, right? So if we grow up in an environment where there is respect for both genders, right? Boys and girls, okay? Then you learn growing up that this is what you learn. This is what you start to consider as a value, okay? The other way I would look at it too is that for me, I'm probably different than a lot of people in that I have raised a child. Okay, so I have done something that is traditionally what a woman would do. Okay, I had help. Yeah, I had help from my mom and others. But my point is that I was involved in something that traditionally would have been more of a woman's role to do. Okay, so I've seen it on both sides. Is guess what I'm trying to say. To me, having that female, whether it's your mother or whoever it is, if you're the child of a single mom raising kids, looking at it from that standpoint, or if you've acted in the capacity, maybe of taking on roles that traditionally would have been a woman's role, cleaning the house, making dinner, changing diapers, right? Whatever it is, okay? You gain a perspective that looks at both sides of the equation. To me, that's really what it comes down to. And it comes to, people may choose to, for me, I believe in opening doors. I believe in these things. So we talk about chivalry, right? Being chivalrous. I believe in that. I think that's important, okay? Now it's a choice. It's a choice. Ultimately, it's a choice, though. If I met somebody and that person preferred to do it themselves, well, then I have a choice.
More power to them.
Or get out of it. Get out of that situation, all right? One thing I don't agree with is in a relationship where there is a sense of subservience, okay? Because to me, that word, I don't like that word, subservience, where one person feels like they have to answer to the other person, okay? Now, you can have a relationship where you mutually agree upon people's roles, responsibilities in that relationship, right? But where one feels they're obligated because of their gender, that to me is I don't agree with that. Okay, so the sense that you can do something because you want to do it, you feel comfortable doing it, is different than feeling that you're doing it because you're obligated to do it. Okay, So again, I tend to take the view that in terms of equality of rights, that it should be something that should be achieved. I think maybe in the future it can be, recognizing at the same time that we are different and we have to recognize that. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are my ideas. So we will wrap up unless anybody else has anything else they would like to offer.
Jamila? I know she always has an opinion.
Yes, I do have strong opinions about this. Yes, I do. Yeah.
But give a comment.
I think this is what I've noticed. Because when we talk about dating and relationships, obviously this is closely related to gender equality. Mm-hmm. So if you notice, Western guys, they tend to be more attracted to Eastern women. And I mean, in most cases, because in Western countries, and actually I got feedback from a lot of friends. They are saying that women tend to be too aggressive. And to me, this is where we should be very careful, and we need to be careful where we draw the line between fighting for gender equality and going a step further and just fighting for something else that is not necessarily the goal, like becoming a man. To me, this is where I don't necessarily agree with very aggressive feminists, where they say, okay, I want to do exactly what a man does. This is to me, I personally, I'm a very open-minded person. Actually, I was raised in, not a conservative, but you can say that, country. But I had the opportunity to also live in a very open, a Western country with much more open values. And to me, I don't mind, to be honest. I don't mind staying at home, cooking, taking care of my husband, my kids. But again, this should be a choice. I wouldn't mind doing that. This is a choice. And also, it's closely related to the way I was raised. So when I talk, in many cases, with women in Europe here or maybe in the United States, they are expecting too much from men. And again, I think it should be a very soft process, because whenever this issue, we cannot find any solution anytime soon. So I think it should be whenever, because we are asking men to compromise, but also women to compromise. So I think the very wise thing to do is just to be patient, because we cannot expect to see things change by tomorrow or in a month or in a year. This obviously will not happen, because when you have societies, they have been constructed in a way, and it's very difficult. It's like asking someone to change his personality. We know that it's very difficult. It takes time. So, yeah.
Well, and we have to be, something that was said earlier is that, one thing I really agree with, I see Babuti's joined us again, one thing I really agree with, something he said and other people said as well, is we have to understand what we're talking about when we talk about gender equality. Again, there are different definitions different people have of what that means to them, right? And, I think that, it's hard. It's hard to give an international standard to something when you don't have an international standard. Right? When you talk to people from 10 different countries and maybe they have 10 different views about what that means, it's hard to come up with a consensus on whether or not you're achieving it, right? So that's the challenge in something like this. I think most people have a general, or I would call it common sense idea of what it means, but again, it's the awareness. Okay, alrighty. Well, listen, I thought it was a really, even though it wasn't really a debate, okay, it was a very good discussion and a really good follow-on to what we talked about yesterday. I think yesterday we had a chance to talk about it from a different perspective, today we were discussing whether or not we think that it will be achieved, and that led to some really good points that were brought up.
Mhm.
Okay, so I would like to thank everybody for participating. Again, Johnny was live streaming this, so it is available. Go listen to it.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. If you want to go listen to yourselves talk, okay.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, Johnny is up on that, and he's our tech savvy guy, so he's got that made available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately for me, I can't listen to it. But another point is that I even hate to listen to myself.
They can't access YouTube in China. They have no.
No, I can't. I mean, I hate to listen to my voice. When I hear my voice, I also ask myself, why my English is so bad? Why?
Oh my gosh, Mary.
So Mary, what were you saying about me earlier about I make a good husband? That you said something like that. I heard
what
something.
Did I say?
You guys have a private discussion about that, okay?
Yeah. All right.
Hello, Rich.
Yes, Rashid. Yes.
What topic will be discussed next week?
How to give Rashid access to Skype to when Rick makes the call.
and how to make Rashid make shorter speeches.
No. Well, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't, Rashid. We haven't figured it out yet. Unfortunately, we haven't put together a long-term approach yet to these themes. We've talked about it, but we'll get together with the team. Now, remember, you guys are more than welcome to provide us recommendations. Okay, if you are not busy, you're hanging out, you got nothing else going on in your life, and you think, I would like to propose this. You guys are more than welcome to propose it with me or one of our members here, and we'll look at it and we'll see how it relates to what we're trying to do, and potentially we'll make it the theme, okay?
Yeah.
So please feel free. Again, we want to encourage people as much as possible to participate and be involved with what we're doing. So again, people can do that by going to our social media channels. They can do that by sharing what we do here with their friends, okay? Networking, okay? So anyway, alrighty. So we'll talk to you guys later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone.